Hello everyone and welcome to Club Deck Corner here on Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. We are live tonight for a bit of a change, and the reason for that, just quickly, is childcare issues and work commitments and stuff. One thing that will either happen, we'll either release a recorded podcast around 7:30 on a Tuesday, or we'll either be live. That's the way it's going to be going forward. We just need to move things about from time to time. So tonight we're live, so enjoy it. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This week in Club Deck Corner, we will discuss the positives and negatives of the 5-2 win over St Mirren on Saturday, and even Rabbi Matondo will get slight praise from me. Yes, you heard me correctly. I've not lost my marbles. It's not the sun. I will give Rabbi Matondo a wee bit of praise tonight. So yes, I'm Scott Carney, of course, and before I introduce you lads, eagle-eyed listeners or eagle-eyed viewers as well, eagle-eared viewers, I think that's what you say, we've actually got a new intro song. The reason for that, the kind of forced change that we've had, is the song that we were using before, for reasons best known to the people that own it, it is now copyrighted for podcasts, so we can't use it no matter what I do. I can't use it, and I wasn't illegally using it in the first place, so there's nothing I can do. Our hand was kind of forced at that point, so we have a new song, but hopefully you're not here just to listen to our intro music. Anyway, joining me tonight, Scott Gemmell. How are you, mate?
Evening, Carney. Yeah, the sun's out. Wee bit rushed off my feet today, but enjoying this weather, and looking forward to discussing what was in the end a comfortable and enjoyable afternoon on Saturday there.
Definitely. And Ryan Haymarch, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm actually digging the new intro music. I was listening to it and nodding my head away there, and I'd quite like to say thank you to Alistair Pearson for dropping everything, getting his guitar out and giving us that wee bit of music. That was great of him to do that.
Yeah, Ali's, in case you're wondering where Alistair is, I was worried about Scotia getting poached by another podcast, but it turns out Ali's been at it the whole way around. So yeah, more on that to come. I'm sure you can ask Ali what I mean by that next time you see him. I'm kidding. Ali will be back on Friday. Obviously before we get into things, shameless plug as always, to support the podcast to reach the next level, you can join the YouTube channel for as little as 99p a month. You can also buy the podcast a coffee and join the Coffee Buying Legend membership via buymeacoffee.com. All the links are in the description for this podcast. Thank you all our members. Thank you all our coffee buyers. Really do appreciate it, and really do appreciate helping us get this podcast to the next level. Now, before I go on, again, you're going to need to listen to me talking for a little bit. Those that have watched know that we've done the podcast for the British Heart Foundation. There's something that kind of ties into that that I'm about to discuss with you just now. So I need to give a shout out to Jeanette, who's a member of the Skerlane Weemsbury Rangers Supporters Club, who is doing the kilt walk for the British Heart Foundation. She's a very close friend of my dad. She sits in the club deck as well. We get to see her at half time, but she's doing the kilt walk, and our reason for this is as follows. I have chosen this charity in the memory of a dear friend's daughter, Emma Elizabeth Carney, who sadly passed away with heart failure. Please can I ask for donations towards this event to raise money for the British Heart Foundation in memory of Emma, to support both the family and the organisation. I would be so grateful for the support. The British Heart Foundation has helped half the number of people dying from heart disease in the UK, but sadly every day hundreds of people lose their lives. It's only thanks to support from people like us that the British Heart Foundation can create new treatments and discover new cures. £24 could pay for 2 hours of research by an early career scientist, even, but every pound helps, so please give what you can to help me hit my target. Thank you. Now, I think she's approaching or has just passed 1,000 based on manual donations and our Just Giving page, but I have left the description for the podcast, description for the donation, the Just Giving page, and the description for the podcast. Obviously, it's very close to me. It's in memory of my sister. I can't thank Jeanette enough for choosing to do that for my dad as well. I know it means so much to my dad as well, because obviously they're good friends, but it's a fantastic gesture. So if you can spare £1, please do so. It would be very, very much appreciated. And there already has been people, I put it up on social medias earlier on this week, and Jimmy, you all know Jimmy. Jimmy's come in with 50 quid as well, and Billy as well put in a tenner as well. So I can't thank you enough for doing that. And Jimmy, you're just a nutter. Honestly, you're just an absolute madman, but I appreciate it. Right, anyway, gentlemen, we'll move on. We'll move on from that. So Rangers were 5-2 winners over St Mirren at Ibrox on Saturday, which in a score line that certainly didn't tell the tale of the full match. Ryan, I'll come to you first, mate. Safe to say it felt a bit end of season vibes, man.
Oft. off, right, I was struggling on Saturday. The sun was lovely, by the way. I will say that to you. I was going to text you during the game because I had my sunshades on, obviously, in the Govan front, and the sun was lovely, and I was enjoying that. But it was a slog to watch, mate. I mean, I'm glad they finished it off well, but of course, there was positives in the game, and we'll talk about them individuals, but it was everything that's we knows caused us to be in the position that we are, and so far behind Celtic, not doing enough up one end, and the defending was shocking at times. But we finished off well. We got the 3 points, and it's very much a kind of Beale stamp on the game where we don't play well at Ibrox. We never ever play well at Ibrox, but we got the win, and that is the most important thing. But it was a slog, mate, and I am struggling to watch Rangers at Ibrox without a pint at the moment.
Yeah, I know the feeling, mate. I know the feeling. It was a strange day beforehand. I felt as well. You're kind of going like, I wasn't that keen to get myself to the pub as early as I usually do. Kind of meandered my way down. Didn't really have much of the buzz in me at all. And yeah, the first half especially kind of went the way I expected. I expected it to be like that. I wasn't shocked by it or getting particularly upset about it until we probably conceded actually, and then I got a wee bit upset about it. Scotia, before we break it down a bit, with 10 to 15 minutes left to go, I certainly didn't see a 5-2 victory coming.
No, not at all, because we don't do this season, and that's maybe perhaps where the game, for me, just looking back on it and immediately after the match, I thought of it more fondly because we finished it off so strongly with those 3 goals. Because, as I say, we've not done that enough this season. Usually we're a team that will get the 2 goals, 3 goals up, and we'll stop and we'll just see games out. This one we actually had, because of the O'Hara getting equaliser in the 65th minute, we had to go out and get the victory. And we'd done that with the 3 players, and 1 goal in particular, again, that at the time I probably didn't notice how good it was. Watching it back though, it's a very good goal. And if this game had been a meaningful game, I think that goal that we scored at the very end would have been up there for goal of the season for me.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, definitely. But they say we'll break down obviously we are the negative podcast, so we will go through the negatives, and we will also go through the positives as well of what we've seen on Saturday, which I do think there were some definitely take from it. Negatives, Ryan, you mentioned it, the defensive errors that we made. All at sea, man, for both goals in particular. Like it's a weird thing that's creeping into us of not being able to clear our lines, doing the fundamentals of defending. And I suppose it led me to thinking, Goldson, where are thou?
Aye. There's nobody will convince me otherwise that we don't miss Connor Goldson. And what do you think he's good enough to take us to the next level, or where we want to go or not? There is one thing that Goldson does is organises that defence. He leads the back 4. He keeps a shape about us, and when he's not there, I definitely notice it watching Rangers. I see panic at the back. I see people not taking accountability. And listen, that second goal was an absolute wonder strike, and the boy took it well. But there's a lack of urgency to get the ball back, and a lack of closing down, urgency to close players down. And I'm not saying Connor Goldson would have changed all of that, but I think he makes a huge difference, and we definitely miss him. We saw it when he was out for months before beginning this season, with how much we miss him, and it nails down how important he is to me for the Rangers back 4 and for the team as a whole. But that next to that, Ben Davies, mate, there are more than just a few red flags for me with Ben Davies. I am more than concerned about him going forward.
Yeah, we'll come to him just shortly, mate. We'll definitely come to him just shortly. Scotia, the first goal in particular, I know you've not had much chance, mate, because due to work to kind of catch up with it, but I watched the game back, and the first goal was end of season for me. It was just players not getting out half as quick as they should have. Because initially, from the initial cross, Suter does quite well. He must get it about 25 yards, 30 yards away from goal with the initial header. But our reaction time to get out to it is honestly embarrassing how bad it was. And don't get me wrong, the finish is honestly what a strike. It's like an absolute it's definitely a Shocker AM job. That it was an absolute peach of a finish. But you're sitting there going, well, yeah, it's a great goal, but why did we let it get to that? And it's the second goal as well, mate, that we conceded. Lundstram and Suter don't cover themselves in glory. They both get in each other's way, and it's all just a bit messy. And it's, yeah, as Ryan says, you can't tell me it's not down to Goldson not being there, because he does breathe confidence throughout that team.
Yeah, so on the first goal, like you say there, end of season, yeah, that comes to mind, because even before the ball came into Suter, Raskin's kind of slowly tracking back out in the left-hand wing, and he lets him get a shot away. Suter, as you say, great header. Although this comes back to Alan McGregor should be coming for that and collecting that, but it's Alan McGregor. This isn't something to do with Alan McGregor's age. I just don't think that's the type of ball he's ever really came for. But for me, I would want my keeper coming for that. But Suter clears it well. And like you say, yeah, Davies is really just too slow off the mark here. And I think Davies over the last couple of games, he was getting at the stage for me, which I was growing on him. But he's quite, in the last couple of games, he's quite quickly got my mind going back to where I was before, that there's just something that I don't quite see with Davies that I get with other players. I don't know what it is. He's maybe a wee bit too timid. He appears at times. He's not a big shouter or whatnot. They're second. Lundstram's really poor for this one for me. Suter tries to be commanding and get there, but he makes a messy to kind of jump for his header there and then falls over. It was poor there again. I do think, given time, Suter could be a commanding presence in a defence, but that's only his third start for Rangers, Suter. So, and he's just back from injury as well. I think, given time, Suter could be a commanding presence in the centre of defence. But yeah, we do definitely miss Connor Goldson, and I think that's very evident with Ben Davies. I think he does need someone with a lot of leadership beside him. Like, I would be, we seen this earlier in the season when it was like Davies and Leon King playing together, that there wasn't an awful lot of confidence in that defence. So yeah, we massively miss Goldson in moments like these, and that's where the worry with Davies for me comes as well, that he doesn't seem to be that commanding.
Yeah, I would agree. I was banging the Davies drum. I really was. I didn't really see what other people were seeing. But then again, I don't really see what other people see in Talander. That's probably my lack of footballing knowledge and my complete arrogance to only watch Rangers playing football and no other team in the world. So there's probably a bit of that in that. I will admit it. But Ryan, you mentioned it with Davies. The questions are being asked about him now. There's definitely people thinking he's maybe not quite up to the standard that we maybe thought he was going to be. But it could be down to the fact that Goldson hasn't been there. I'm not going to be too harsh on Suter, and I don't even think he really deserves to be discussed now. He's missed a lot of football, Suter. He's only getting himself back into the thing. This is a brand new team for him. You have to give him time. I'm going to do that thing where I say give him time and then he's going to make a howler at the weekend. I'm going to say sell him, get rid of him. But you know what I mean. There's no reason for us to react that quickly to Suter, because I think he's a decent enough player. I do. I think he's injury prone. His injury proneness does worry me slightly, but I don't think he deserves a kind of talking down or any sort of criticism to go his way. The second goal didn't cover his selling glory, as I said, but I think he was too keen. I think he was too keen. But Davies, mate, as I say, it is leading to the questions of do we need reinforcements in the defence? Is this something that Rangers should be looking into? Is this part of one of the 5 names that we need another leader in the back line?
100% for me. I think we do. I think when you look at, I think anyone would argue we play our strongest defence against Celtic the past couple of games that I can think anyway, at least. And we concede very sloppy goals, and that tells you everything that we need to strengthen the defence, whether it is right back, left back, centre half, it doesn't matter. I think it's very apparent Rangers need to strengthen the defence. And it's cross balls that you need someone that's going to attack the ball, be a bit more aggressive. I think Goldson's capable of not doing that as well at times, so I'm not just going to hang Davies out to dry, but I think it does lack somebody a bit more physical. And before I get jumped on in the comments, I'm not saying Niko Katic, but someone like that, someone who is very good at heading the ball, but maybe not as good with the ball at their feet, if you get me. So I think Rangers need, definitely, I would be concerned if Rangers went into next season with Borna, Barisic, Tavernier, Goldson and Davies as their back 4. I would definitely be concerned about that. So yes, I'm not writing off Ben Davies at this time, but I'm definitely concerned about it, and I think he needs someone who's going to push him all the way for that place, and if not, take it off him, because we are powder puff. I can't remember the phrase Scotia used to describe Ben Davies, but he just seems a bit weak and a bit. He's very nice with the ball at his feet, but it was just a couple of times. I think it was what do you call the striker up front for St Mirren again? It's
Curtis Main.
Curtis Main. That's the one. He gave him a bit of hassle and he was dribbling towards him just straight on, and he just get beat with the ball at his feet, and it was just 2 or 3 times I was like, oh, that's not a good sign against a team like St Mirren. No disrespect to them, but Ben Davies will have to play a lot better than that to be a Rangers regular centre half for me.
Yeah, he was weak at points. He got beat very easily out on our left hand side in the first half or the second half. Hang on, I need to figure this out because we swapped sides. Can't remember. In the first half, I think it was the first half. Was it the second? No, because
it's close to me as well.
So he's done on both sides. Well, he can't be close to you.
I remember the second time he got done. I think he got beat both fast. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he can't be close to both of us at the same time, mate. That's not real. We're literally direct opposite from each other in the stadium. But yeah, it was, and it looked like once he got it wrong, you could see the head going down. Do you know what I mean? You could see his head dropping a bit. And I'm like, you're going to need to be stronger than that. You really are going to need to be stronger than that. Scotia, as the quintessential defender at heart that you are, what's your opinions on our back line, mate? Do you believe that we need reinforcements there?
You asked me this question, or you asked for transfers in the summer a few weeks ago, and I kind of put as a centre half, like, yeah, we probably need it, but it's probably the lowest of where we need reinforcements. I do still think it's fairly low down the priority list, because I do think we need strikers and a midfielder and a keeper more urgently. In some respects, depending on what type of midfielder we bring in, that could be a midfielder that could help out the defence. You know, I'm not saying like a complete defensive minded midfielder, but someone like Raskin who sits a wee bit deeper and offers covers for your fullbacks going forward and things like that. But I do think that just over the last couple of games, that I'm a wee bit worried with the numbers in defence, because I've seen someone in the comments put there as well that King, yeah, potentially he's getting put out on loan because he's not really had a sniff at all since Souttar's come back from injury. Since Beale's been in, I don't think King's really made all that many benches either. So probably best for his development if he leaves to go on loan over the summer. We've got Lewis Mayo out on loan at Kelly, but again, I don't see him coming in, and I don't see him. You know, I think we definitely need to go out and maybe get someone, just more competition sort of thing. And yeah, just with Ellender going, we probably do need a wee bit of cover on that left-hand side of defence if Davies isn't going to be the answer. And right now, he's not kind of giving me the confidence that he will be going forward.
Yeah, well, Helander, whatever his name is, Helander is definitely going. I don't think there's any doubt about it. We cannot continue to follow on the Ross Wilson footprint of, yeah, but if we can get a tune out of him, or yeah, if we can keep him fit. We can't be doing that anymore. We need young talent is what we need. We need people that are strong, that are looking to develop maybe to the next level and maybe to reach their peak. This is the full football model that we're running on. Cantwell and Raskin are the perfect kind of blueprint for that, because they are at that age where they're looking to make that next step into their development, into their reaching their peak as a footballer. And we need that even in defence. I think people will always harp on and go back to things like, but we shouldn't have let Balogun go, we shouldn't have let Katic go. Katic was gung-ho, man, like just full out, I will win that ball no matter what. But in terms of footballing ability, he wasn't the best. He really wasn't the best, and he was quite naive at times with his decision making. But again, I think without being too harsh on Davies, I just think the lack of Connor Goldson there really does not help matters. It really doesn't. I think you just notice it. There's not many, I believe, in that team that you notice not there. Maybe Cantwell's working his way into that conversation. We will come to Cantwell, but when Goldson's not there, I feel like you can just feel it. It's a strange thing, but that says everything about what Connor Goldson is to that back line, I think, and what he is to Rangers. He's the backbone of the whole team. And I say he's everybody believes that he is our captain. That's what people like to say. But yeah, definitely concerns getting raised now because of the standard of goal that we're conceding as well. I don't mean obviously the finish by the boy, but it's chances that are coming from us, our inability to be commanding in our defensive area, and that's why these chances are coming. Both goals from St Mirren are good finishes. I can't take anything away from them, but they should never have been allowed the chance to get to that point. Ryan, another negative, and I'm beginning to feel bad about it. Is John Lundstram, mate? I don't understand what he does. He wasn't particularly good defensively. He wasn't particularly good attacking. He played a few decent switch of play passes that I can remember, but I'm running out of ways to think. Why do you continue to get a game in this team, and is it purely because there's nobody else that's really up to it right now?
Probably because he's on 30 grand a week, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's probably that as well. Yeah.
Yes. I think I'd really like to think that Rangers are looking for a suitor in England to take John Lundstram away and get him off the wage bill, because his time at Rangers, unless he has some sort of miraculous comeback, is over. I just don't see him fitting into. I think when you watch Rangers now, it's not a total new identity, but you can see that Beale and his team are trying to get him to pass the ball forward a lot more. I think that's undoubtedly what they're trying to get Rangers to do. You see Cantwell do it, you see Raskin do it. They're doing it so much more than they did under Gio. John Lundstram doesn't fit that mould. He doesn't pass the ball forward enough. He's slow. He tries to break play down. He tries to switch the ball over to the wings. And that's very nice. But that'll be very nice for a team who want to play that way. That's not us now going forward. And I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's appearance fees. I don't know. I don't understand why he's playing football for Rangers at the moment, because it's painful to watch, because he comes across a genuine guy who's trying his best for Rangers. You can tell he loves it here. Probably pinching himself at times. But it's just, I just don't. I'm with you, mate. It's confusing to watch him now, and it's kind of sad as well, because I do genuinely have this kind of admiration for him after last season. But now he's starting to outdo all the good he did last season. I would rather see you just move him on and think, you were great during that European run, John, and all the best going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand to an extent why he would be picked to play for the style of player that he is, because I'll respect St Mirren for the fact that they came and actually tried to play a game of football, which is refreshing to see at Ibrox. It really is refreshing to see. But I still, at points when we were commanding in possession, I was like, it's just the easy pass all the time. It's constantly the easy pass, and you're like, take a bit of a risk, do something. Do you know what I mean? And I want him to find form again, but he seems kind of set on staying as well. Obviously, when you hear his comments and stuff that he's made to the press, that he loves being here, and I wish nothing more than John Lundstram gets back to the form that he was in. But right now, as I say, it's a real head scratcher for me. I just struggle to understand his role within the team, and maybe the new system, maybe Beale's style of football that he wants to play, maybe it doesn't suit him, and maybe that's what he's struggling with. I don't know. I say I'm no expert in these things. Scotia, we had a discussion about Lundstram, I think after the game, and I think at half time as well, and you didn't think he was particularly bad. So is it purely down to the flexibility you think that Lundstram offers? And by that I mean we can switch between a 3-4 or a 5 at the back if Lundstram is playing.
Aye, I know what you mean there, and yes, he can offer you that, and it worked probably better under Gio, like Kenny Ryan says there, in terms of the way that Gio was playing as well. But what I was more speaking about is that game at the weekend there gone past. I honestly don't think Lundstram, that's nowhere near as bad as he's been playing recently. It wasn't a great performance. I just noticed it because it was a better performance than we've been getting from Lundstram, and Lundstram's performances as of late have been really poor. And I've been, even before, since Gio left, I've been worried about Lundstram because he just never seemed to he was never clicking into gear. And he does offer you a wee bit of versatility, but for me, he's coming, the end of this season, he'll have 1 year left in his deal. I wouldn't be offering him a contract extension unless, like Ryan says, he miraculously turns it around, which there's no evidence of that going to happen. So, no, I'd be kind of looking to kind of refresh that area. I think we need 2 centre midfielders anyway, but with Lundstram going as well, that might need to knock up to 3 potentially, because we're going to potentially lose quite a bit in the middle with some of the players that will be coming to sort of ended their careers and things as well in that area.
Yeah, I think he's an asset. I think he's an asset as such as that we could get some amount of money for him. I don't know how much you would get for him in the last year of his contract, and whether a team was desperate enough to have him in this form, if that makes sense. Club admin Jamie Lowe did make a point that he is out of form. We think his best position's a bit further up the park. We have players in better form, so he's played out of position in DCM for me. There's maybe something in that. But I don't know if he's got the legs. I just don't think every time he has to put the effort in to put a bit of sprint in, it's proper head down. Like he's trying his hardest to get there, if you like, to show a burst of pace, but I just don't believe it's there. It's a strange one.
Was it the Hearts game? The Hearts game that him and Kamara played? I think that's the only performance recently that springs to mind for me for Lundstram.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was him and Kamara that played that Hearts game. But he's kind of gone back. He's reverted back to type. Not the type he was this time last year, but he was absolutely brilliant, best on earth material. But yeah, this season he's, like Ryan says, he's kind of almost tarnishing his reputation. Everything that he worked for, like Ryan says, last season, it's kind of, I mean, it went for me a while ago this season, but I think it's starting to go for a wider swathe of the support at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So, right, enough of the negatives. We'll move on to a bit of positives from it. 5 goals. I mean, we scored 5 goals. That is a positive. There is no doubt it's a positive. Is that the most goals we've scored in a game this season, Scotia? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think the others have been 4.
Yeah, so Cantwell, Sakala, Morelos at the double, and Arfield. Scotia, I'll come to you first. Morelos, it's a strange one for me, this. I thought it was much more like it from him in terms of a performance. But it's probably a performance that makes you feel slightly uneasy because you're going, well, I don't think you're going to be here next season, so it's kind of, I don't want sentiment to come into it because I do believe it is time for Alfredo to move on. But when you see Morelos scoring 2 goals, and especially his second goal is a very clever goal, it really is. What do you make of Morelos? And this is where I'll give everybody hold your breath. Rabbi Matondo's run for the second goal, for Morelos, his second goal, and the picking out the pass of him was superb, generally superb. The timing of the run was great. The picking out the pass for Morelos was perfect. It was straight into Alfie's path, and Alfie was tidy with his finish. So what did you make of Alfredo? And I know it's a bit of a it feels a bit like a redundant conversation because I think we all believe that he's moving on, but it was definitely more like it because I do think he's had a bit of a rough time recently.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this now for a few weeks that I keep on switching my mind between Kent and Morelos. Do I want them to stay? Do I not want them to stay? This weekend, or from the weekend there, it's Alfie had a performance where I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't really be that bothered if he stuck around, but sentiment's playing a massive part there. It's probably a wee bit of safety in my part that you kind of know what you're going to get with Alfie, and sometimes that's nothing because he doesn't appear. He's still over in Colombia and whatnot. I think that the time probably is right for him to leave at the end of the season. But if he plays like this from now until the end of the season, plays like this at the end of the month against Celtic if he's selected, then I'll have no issues with that because we've said it before. For £1 million, he's paid us back tenfold in terms of important goals. The goal against Legia Warsaw, for example, that goal was absolutely brilliant. What was it? A couple of minutes to go, he scores that header. So he's paid us back. But I thought he was decent again on Wednesday. Sorry, I'm not thinking there now. On Saturday, I think the problem is it's to try and find a type of player that we can replace Morelos, his kind of style with. There's not many of those type of players about there that can kind of, the Morelos of 2019, the Morelos of the 55 season. They don't come cheap unless we get Jonathan Johansson's back with Rangers, isn't he? So maybe he can pick up another diamond for us.
That would be quite nice, mate. That would be quite nice. No, Ryan, I think the Morelos of that season, the Morelos in his not his prime, but his peak, I would say, for Rangers. I believe Morelos will go on and do something else somewhere else, and he'll probably be quite successful in wherever he goes because he'll have a bit of a hunger back. He'll have a bit of a point to prove as well from where he goes to. But either that, mate, I do think it was a much improved performance by him. But again, it's still it's still one of the ones that you're going, okay, well, he is going to move. And I think it more raises the eyebrow for me of going, we're going to really need to spend a serious about $1 to get a good striker in.
It's definitely going to cost us unless Beale's going to pick a dime in the rough. I mean, I've kind of said all season I would take that boy Duke from Aberdeen, but I'm not for a second saying that's Alfredo Morelos' replacement. I'm not stupid, but yeah, we're going to have to do a scouting well. We're going to have to identify a player who can do it, and I also think we're going to have to get backup for Roof, for other forwards that are not playing when we want to. We will miss Morelos, but it's for me, Morelos and Rangers are pretty much like a couple who break up and get back together, and it's time they just called it a day and moved on. Yes, they have the odd nice night together, but the long-term relationship is not there between Rangers and Morelos. For me, that's my opinion. The sentimental side, yes, he was great in the 55 season. That was 2 years ago. If Rangers did get a new contract with Alfredo Morelos out of the blue just now, I wouldn't be surprised if he turned up late for training in July again. And that's the cycle. I think Alfredo Morelos needs a new challenge now, and I totally agree with you. I think when he does move on, if it is this summer, I wouldn't be surprised if he hits the ground running with somebody and he gets fighting fit and he's banging goals in for someone. And I think that's what he needs. I think he's been looking for a move away from Rangers for probably a year or two now. And yeah, his finish was very cute on Saturday, and they were great finishes. But I think quite a few people summed up in the comments. For me, too little, too late with Alfredo Morelos now, and it is nice to see him score goals for Rangers. It's nice to see Andy score goals. But the time for me is to move him on, mate.
Yeah, that's the overriding feeling I think I get as well, mate. When I see him score a double, you get the wee buzz about Alfredo, because I loved him. Generally, I loved him. It's been a long time since I uttered he's my favourite player, and I've said that in the podcast before, and there was a stage where he was my favourite player. I absolutely loved him. I thought he was tremendous. But yeah, I'm the same. It's a very good way of summing it up, mate. It's these two people that you know that shouldn't be together anymore, but they continue to do it, and it's never going to end well.
You and Alfredo are childhood sweethearts, mate. It's over.
Yes, it's over, mate. I know. It's breaking my heart, mate. Breaking my heart. Just quickly on Sakala, Ryan. Far too erratic for me on Saturday. Okay, he did score the second goal for us, and it's a tidy finish with the header. Apart from that, I didn't think he did very much at all. I thought he was poor in possession. I thought he was slack with his passes. I thought his end product was pretty much non-existent. And it raises it just always comes back to me that I'm going, he's a lovely lad, he's a great guy, his stats are great, they really are, but it's, can we put up with being frustrated at him for a lot of the time? Or am I being too optimistic, thinking that there's a player out there that can do it consistently that would actually be playing in this league?
I think for as long as Fashion Sakala plays for us, we will be having this conversation.
Yeah, probably.
He could go to Aberdeen at the weekend and could slam into, and we're going, we've just got to put up with that Fashion Sakala. I think this is what we'll get from him, and I think we'll always get it from him. He's just that frustrating type where, if you remember back, that performance when we were in the gantry that night, and we were both looking at each other and just going like, I've not seen him this before from a professional footballer. He genuinely didn't look like he was professional. It was worrying, but then he scores like that goal against Dundee United months ago where he takes it in the left foot and volley, and this is what you get from him. I personally would keep him. I would have him in the squad to bring on games. I would have him to start now and again. You kind of know after 20 minutes, half an hour of Fashion Sakala what you're going to get. Sometimes he's just rapid, running at players, terrifying defenders. Then other times you wonder if he knows what the white lines in the pitch are for. You get worried when you watch him. And I don't know, maybe he will improve. Maybe he'll cut some things out of his games. I don't know. But I think that feeling, if we all share it, he's a very frustrating figure to watch. But on the flip side, if we've got a better team, you're not too worried about him because you know you'll get something out in the next game. That's kind of my attitude with it.
Yeah, definitely. Sharpie 117 has said he's a loose cannon. That pretty much sums him up. It really does, because you just don't know. But maybe maybe I'm not one of the ones that's willing to put up with it, whereas others will be more than happy to put up with it if he continues to put stats in the way he does. But on Saturday, mate, I just thought he was frustrating me on Saturday.
Yeah, he does that though. That's Sakala. That's Sakala in a nutshell. We've said it.
I
All
don't
season.
want it though. I don't want it.
No.
I get frustrated enough having to listen to Alistair, mate, after a game or like half time. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to do that. I don't have to have that as well.
True, but no, I'm with Ryan there. That I think he's a valuable member of the squad for us. And you mentioned it there, the number, like the stats that he gets, the numbers he gives us. I've seen a few people in the comments mention someone else that we've not touched on, and you compare them, different types of players, completely different types of players, offers the teams different stuff. Kent and Sakala, the numbers that Sakala gives you, and that's ultimately where a lot of players get viewed. The numbers that they give you, particularly in that attacking midfielder striker type of role. Sakala's miles head and shoulders above what Kent offers as an attacking threat, and that's not something that's just happened to Kent this season. That's been Kent consistently since we've signed him, that he's not really offered enough going forward, and he's got that $7.5 million price tag on them, and they're both fairly similar in the way that you can both level at them, that they don't give up during a game, but ultimately Sakala ends up getting you a goal. Sakala ends up assisting more goals. So for me, I think at the moment, Sakala is probably a more valuable asset to the team than Ryan Kent is right now. And that may be controversial.
Yeah, well, you're saying it to me, mate, fucking Kent fanboy sitting here.
Such a fair argument, though, isn't it?
It's no 100%. I was just about to say it. Like, we didn't miss Kent Saturday. Do you know what I mean? You didn't think, oh, I wish Ryan Kent was playing. You didn't. That thought didn't cross my mind at all. But I do think with Ryan Kent, I think it's like we're going back to Cisco, I mentioned earlier as well. Like, this week I want to keep Morelos and get rid of Kent, and next week I'm going to want to keep Kent and get rid of Morelos. But that's kind of where I'm at. I think both of them are going to move on now. I believe that both of them are going to move on now, and I think the final bit for me with Kent was the Old Firm performance, because he was awful. He was like honestly terrible, and I think that was when I was like, right, okay, maybe it's time to move on. But with like Sakala, I get it. Look, I understand it, but he scored that goal and then he got the ball on the right hand side. He should have squared the ball into the box. He decided to shoot from an angle that he was probably never going to shoot from and put it in Rosette. And I'm just like, I can't cope with you. Literally cannot cope with you. This is driving me mental, and I'm so happy that you've just scored the goal. But it was just. Sakala's a tough one, but you're probably right. I reckon he will. Remain in the squad. Arfield as well, the Arfield goal, Scotia, I'll come back to you. 60 passes, mate, and an absolute wonder run by Cantwell. Best of the bunch, absolute best of the bunch. It was a really, really well worked goal. Didn't realise we had the ball for as long as we did until obviously it started appearing on social media and whatever else. But the run from Cantwell, mate. As well, we'll stick with Cantwell. Beale mentioned in his press conference after the game that he wants more from him. He wants shots from distance. I do still think there is more to come from Cantwell. But by God, I cannot wait to see it, mate. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, well, if Beale's saying that he wants more from Cantwell can offer more, then I'm very excited to see it, because I think Cantwell's been brilliant since he's come in. I think he's almost picked up every man of the match in the games that he started. He's been that good. I mean, I don't think there's an outstanding choice for a player of the season this year, but come the end of the season, I think Cantwell's quite potentially be in the discussion with another couple. He's been brilliant. On Beale's comment about him shooting, I mean, I know Cantwell came out in his first interview and he did say that he wasn't the type of player that scored the goals. He was the player that made the goals and things like that, and he liked doing that. So if he can add that, scoring goals to his locker, then in which, he got one there. Was it 2 assists he got at the weekend as well? Yeah, because I think he got assists for one of Morelos. Morelos and Arfield's goals.
Oh, did they get assists for that?
Yeah, but even his goal as well, it was a tidy finish, similar to the one, who were we playing when he done the wee basketball hoop celebration. I can't remember what team we were actually playing, but similar sort of types of goals there. Just very neat and tidy.
Was it?
It was Motherwell, aye. Yeah, so neat and tidy goals that he's doing there. But no, I've really, really liked Cantwell. I know Ryan, apologies. Ali said that he was going to be a player when he came to us, but I think he's took me. I thought he would be good, but he's took me by surprise by how good he's actually been.
You're getting a wee bit confused, thinking that stop giving Alistair credit because he's not here. But you're not thinking that it was Lawrence that he said it was going to be really good. I don't know if he said Cantwell. Did he say Cantwell?
No,
I
he
can't
has
remember.
said that he did say that Cantwell would be
No, he
good because
didn't. Nah, he's not here.
Ali watches an awful lot of Norwich, as you know. Ali's a big
he's not
Norwich
here.
fan.
Yeah, he's a big Norwich fan. Yeah, he likes the green shorts.
He's a farmer,
right? Yes, Ryan. Your thoughts on Cantwell, mate? The more I see him, the more I think you're the centre of this team now in our attacking sense. I love his attitude. I love his ability to be everywhere on the pitch. And my dad's been picking him out constantly when we've been watching games together. My dad's like, this boy's an absolute player.
It's funny you say that. Very funny you say that because my dad is the exact same. If you think I can be negative about Rangers or criticise Rangers, you've heard nothing. You've sat next to my dad. So my old man, it'll take a while to get to his name, but he calls him the boy with the blonde hair. Or he called him a couple of things, but he doesn't quite get his name yet. But he's getting there. But he likes Cantwell, and that tells me everything. So I'm right into Cantwell. I like the way he breaks the lines. What I don't want him to do, and I don't think he's going to. I like that Beale's pushing him. Take the handbrake off because I think there's a player that we sold in the summer who didn't do that enough in Joe Aribo. I think Joe Aribo was the star man in our midfield and he didn't realise it. I think he played the safe pass too much. I think when you saw against like Braga sometimes and he would go on a run and he would beat like 3 or 4 men and you'd be like, that's what I want you to do. Just do that all the time, Joe. And other times he would just beat a man and he would square the ball. This is what I want to see from Cantwell, that goal where he just skips by, I don't know, is it 2 or 3 of them? I've not seen it back, but he just drives at them and then plays a slip ball through the middle. And I'm like, yes, this is what we've been screaming for. I know it's against St Mirren. I know it's the dying minutes of a game that's possibly meaningless, whatever you want, but he's still done it. It gets his confidence up and it's what I want to see. And I think that's why Beale have brought him up here to do things like that and contribute to the attacking play like that because we are, as I exhaustingly say, every pod, we are too heavy on playing the ball out to the wing and crossing it in. That's exactly what you want to see from Cantwell, and that's why he's been brought up here.
Yeah, I just like the fact that he goes, right, okay, I'm not that he's counted, but it's like, okay, we've made 59 passes now, I'll make the 60th and we'll score a goal from it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's that mentality of, well, we're not going forward here, so I'll make something happen.
Exactly.
And he does. It's very... Yeah, go on.
Sorry for cutting across you, Carney. The thing with Cantwell, and you could label this at Raskin as well, they've both got that wee bit of gallousness about them that I like to see in players. You know, they both know that they're good and they can execute themselves being good in the pitch, which is great to see.
Yeah, I 100% agree. He believes in himself. He believes that, and I think he's made such a response, such a quick impression on the fans that he's quickly becoming a fan's favourite as well. I mean, we all kind of, it's one of the ones, if he wasn't in the team now, you'd be going, oh, Cantwell's not playing. Do you know what I mean? And that's a good impact to have in such a short space of time that he's been here. But he's winning. The fact that he's winning the fans over, it takes away that Rangers Twitter reaction that he would get if, say, he'd played a misplaced pass or a run for him didn't come off. Like, as I say, and we're just about to come to Ryan Kent, but now when Ryan Kent does something like that, it's like, my goodness, set the house on fire. Ryan Kent didn't beat his man. Let's throw everything out because he didn't beat a man, and it's because he's lost faith in them. But Cantwell started his career in a spectacular way, he really has, and I'm so excited to see more of him, especially after a pre-season and with new players coming in. I really can't wait to see more of him. I think he's a fantastic signing. It was one that has definitely worked, no doubt about it. So we'll move on from that, and we'll move on to Ryan Kent, who obviously didn't play at the weekend due to a knock, whatever the knock may be. Obviously not been in fantastic form for a good while now, and obviously running down his contract. Scotia, there's been links gathering pace, or rumours gathering pace, that the latest team is Burnley, who are currently cantering the Championship, mate, and look, their absolute certainty to go back up to the Premier League. Burnley, mate, for me, Ryan Kent going there, that's probably a pretty good move for him, and he's going to have a team where it'll probably suit him, to be honest, because Burnley have started to play pretty good football. What's your thoughts on that link? That's one I could see happening, to be honest.
Aye, it'd be a decent move for him because Burnley, did they win the championship? Aye, so they're
Is it
heading
won?
straight back
Have they
up.
won it now? Have they won it already? Yeah.
I think they won it. Yeah, so that's them back up at the Premier League, and that's probably where Kent wants to see himself playing in the top flight of English football. It's where an awful lot of players want to see themselves play because it's deemed as one of the best leagues in the world. Yeah, I mean, I've got to the stage now with Kent. Like I said, it switches week to week, but no, I think the time's gone with Kent. There's Matondo coming on playing from the left. I'm not saying Matondo's going to be able to do what Kent's done over his time at Rangers, but I think we've got options there that will Kent be as huge a miss as I maybe initially thought he would be? I don't know, because he's not really. I think when Beale first came in, you got a wee upturn in Kent's play, and I thought for a month he was starting to play decently, but he's started to fall away again since then. Since about the mid-February onwards, he's kind of started to sort of decline. And as you've already said, that game against Celtic the other week there, he was really, really poor. And I think as well, what kind of, I know it's a still frame picture, but that still frame picture where he's got the ball attacking and Morelos is sitting in there in the middle. At the time, I don't think I really remembered that, but the still frame just gets you. I think for us, it's the best that Kent moves on. Yes, you can maybe look at it, 7.5 million gone, no return in that investment. But again, like he's like Alfie at the start of his Rangers career, he did score important goals for us. The first goal he scored against Celtic for us while he was on loan, that was a massive goal at that point. Certainly gave us confidence that day sitting watching it. Burnley, could be a decent shout because I think they're starting to play a wee bit more expansive football rather than the Burnley of Sean Dyche.
Yeah, Sean Dyche that everybody wanted. Well, people wanted him to manage Rangers. I'm like, please no. Honestly, please no. Ryan, what's your thoughts on it? I think there's people, see people in the chat saying he's not good enough. He should play in the Championship. He's going to end up, I think, winners at Forest. He's a Liverpool B team player, all this kind of stuff. I think people forget how good Ryan Kent was when he was playing very well, and there's definitely still a player in there, but for whatever reason, it seems to all just went a wee bit stale at Rangers. And I think you've always said, mate, that you believe Kent should move on. Am I correct?
Yeah, I do. I think it's similar to, I mean, you used the same phrase that I would use for Alfredo Morelos in terms of how good he was. I think that's the same with Kent. We have a romantic, we all remember that goal at Celtic Park that he scored in the celebration, and he was brilliant. And then he had that game against Borussia Dortmund where I think it's one of the best performances I've seen from a Rangers player in Europe. I know that is a huge shout, but I think that's how good he was against Dortmund away from home. I thought he was unplayable. Caveat to that is 20 games in between, he's very, very average, and that's where we are. Where Ryan Kent, I think he's had his time at Rangers. I wish him all the best when he does move on, but I don't think his future. It's the relationship between Rangers and Kent. It just doesn't work anymore for me. I can't remember walking away from Ibrox or a game and saying, Kent was brilliant today, or Kent lit it up today. It just doesn't happen for him, and I think a lot's to do with mentality with him, and maybe he needs a new challenge himself. But yeah, we didn't miss him on Saturday. Yes, it was only against St Mirren, but what I don't like is the criticism Ryan Kent gets. I think his work rate off the ball is always there. He tries his heart out for Rangers. He loves the club. I think nobody can deny that. It's just came to an end now. We've had him, what is it? Is it 4 seasons? 3-4 seasons now we've had
Five now?
4 years.
Is it 5?
No, only before. It was only signed. Well, wait, 5 if you count the loan spell.
Aye, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
For me, he's done his part. Yes, 7.5 million was a lot of money we paid for him. The target when we signed him was 55 into top 10, and we did it. And we probably should have moved him on. And I hear all this fans saying now, oh, why did we not sell Morelos, Kent, blah, 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 Borna, everybody else. If we'd sold Ryan Kent when we won 55, there would have been an absolute meltdown. People would have went crazy. So, yes, it's easy to say that now, but listen, Ryan Kent's going to leave for free. That's frustrating, but I think history, as we've said many times, will reflect well on Ryan Kent. It just feels now it's the right time for him to go as well, mate. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think I'm coming around to that idea as well now, mate. I think the more I see players like Cantwell and Raskin shining within the team, I'm going, God, we don't half need fresh legs here. We don't half need new bodies. And I think he's one of the ones that's part of the old guard, if you like, that could be moved on. I think it would be it's pretty poor that we're not going to make any money back on him because of how much we put the outlay on him. But I do agree that when we won 55, nobody was calling for Alfredo Morelos or Ryan Kent to leave the club. Nobody was. So if the club had went and done it there, it would be like, oh, you're just money grabbing this and that. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think it's went too far now. Don't get me wrong. I think probably towards the end of last season we should have been looking to move these players on, and that's an error on Ross Wilson's part, I believe, and possibly Gio. I don't know, possibly Gio as well. I don't really know. But yeah, I'm coming round to the opinion of maybe it's time to move on. But I do believe that it's somewhere we need to recruit as well if he does move on, because as good as Rabi was, it was, I don't know, 15 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it was he was on. I'm not saying that he's the answer, because I genuinely don't believe that he is. I don't believe that he is.
Can I
Anyway,
ask
just before...
Sorry, I know we've got time running down, sorry, but I think there's an element of, because of where we've been, and it took us a long time to get players of Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos' standard of player. I think there's a fear factor with our support sometimes that if we let them go, what we're going to get in return. I think once we move on and we see players like Cantwell and Raskin coming in, it will ease that fear, that scar tissue of losing players like that, because there definitely seems to be a detachment issue with Rangers fans and players like that.
You're talking to head of detachment here, mate. Literally the head of detachment. You're 100% right, mate. That's a cracking way of putting it. Scotia, I would go along with that. There's something in that.
Yeah. I think the Raskin and Cantwell fees are what, around the 1.5-2 million mark. Kent must be one of in the top 5 signings that we've made in terms of expenditure. I think Michael Ball was around about 6.5-6 million. I think Kent's up in the top 5, maybe even top 3 type of players that the expenditure we've made for them. And to be honest, when the highest one's Flo, I thought Flo had a decent return, but for the price at the time, we were expecting far more than we got. Maybe harshly on him at the time. I know that's gone back a fair bit now, but maybe we're guilty of that with Kent as well. That you're looking at the 7.5 million fee and expecting far more than he's able to offer, which is potentially unfair in Kent, because Scottish football, the money in the Scottish football market is completely different than it is to our neighbours down south.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. That's pretty spot on, though. I think what Ryan's saying there probably is a detachment issue, that if he goes, who are we going to get? I think, don't take him away from me, kind of thing. Like, and that's me, man. I'm guilty of that. 100%. I'm guilty of that. But we'll see. Interesting one. But I think it's looking like both players, Kent and Morelos, will now move on. So quickly before we finish up tonight, Scotia, it was confirmed that the B team will continue in the Lowland League, met by happiness by Rangers fans, majority of them anyway, and hatred from the rest of Scottish football about it. I couldn't believe. I actually went in and read the Twitter comments on the official post that got put out about it, and I was like, my goodness, there's not many people that are fond of this idea. What's your make of it, mate? Is it worthwhile the B team to stay in the Lowland League?
Yeah, I seen the news come out last night. I've not actually read any of the comments or stuff that get put out.
Quite funny. They were quite funny.
I can imagine what some of them are, because I've said this before. My dad's an Albion Rovers supporter, so he supports a lower team in Scottish football who are at the moment very, very close to going down into that Lowland League if they don't pull their finger out, because they're sitting bottom of League 2. But he's not getting any issue with it. So I think there are some lower league fans that don't mind. There's others that just hate it because they hate it. They hate Rangers. For me, it's a good thing. We spoke about it when the news got announced that we're looking into these type of things, and at the time I wanted us to keep it going. I think it's a benefit. I do think it'd be better if the B team could progress up the leagues a wee bit more, but we're stuck with this. So at the moment, this is what we have to take, because it's really all we've got. Otherwise, we're just playing. There's no reserve league. We're just playing bounce games behind closed doors for these players, and we've got an awful lot of players kind of coming through. We've put an awful lot of effort. You know, Ross Wilson put a bit of effort into that in his time here. You look at players like Zach Lovelace that have been signed with a view to developing him to be, come into the first team and play, and Bailey Rice are examples as well. We've obviously benefited from it with Patterson, King, Devine, players like these recently. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing that at least it's guaranteed for another season. But I do hope that Scotland could be a wee bit more insular looking and kind of, embrace the wider world and what goes on in the wider world.
That was the word of the podcast there, Scotia, right out the top bag. That was a particularly good one. My opinion on it is, I agree. I think there has to be a progression there for them. I think there has to be. I would like to see them being able to progress up the leagues a little bit, but that's purely on my love for my club and what I think it would help with my club going forward. In terms of what it's produced, I think there's a tendency, because we are playing Lowland League football, which is professional football, but obviously some teams are part-time, etc., that a lot of Rangers fans expect that the 11 players that play or the 11 first teamers are immediately going to come to the first team, and it's not going to work like that. You maybe get 2 that potentially make the squad, 1 might make it, 1 might not, and the rest of them will kind of get absorbed into Scottish football, because the players should be good enough in order to go play full time for a team. That's my view on it anyway. I also think the Scottish football themselves could do a lot more to aid the fact that the B teams are in the leagues, and even the women's team. Stop putting the games on when Rangers are playing, the first team are playing. It shouldn't be happening. You could get a lot more money by playing games on a Friday night, playing games on a Sunday afternoon, giving a chance for people to take their kids along to it to still go watch Rangers playing football. And they don't do that enough, so they kind of shoot themselves in the foot. And the criticism of, you said you were going to get more fans. Yeah, well, I think the club believed that there would be a bit more freedom about arranging fixtures that weren't going to clash with the first team. But again, it didn't really seem to have happened. But in terms of them staying in the league, I think it can only be a good thing for them to be playing at a certain level. And yeah, I'm kind of for it going forward. Ryan, your thoughts on the B team continuing the Lowland League and everything that surrounds it, mates, to finish up?
Yeah, I think there's good things and bad things. I think I'd imagine the teams in the Lowland League will be happy to a certain point, because they'll get bigger crowds. I might see them twice this season, I think. And there was a decent crowd at the games. They'll play against decent opposition, obviously, as you said, that the players are full time, so they're very, very fit. And the other good thing is nobody mentions the Rangers and Celtic, and Hearts as well. I believe if they win the Lowland League, they can't get promoted. So we're not kind of taking away the avenue of them going up the divisions, the other teams going up the divisions. But I'm more worried about Rangers. I'm more worried about players like Alex Lowry, who I've seen playing for the B team. And my first thought is, you're wasted here. What's the next step for you if you're not getting into the first team or not in the fringes of the first team? Where are you going with your career? Charlie McCann was another one that I thought I knew was too good for that league. Yes, we've moved him on now, much to my disappointment, but obviously Rangers didn't feel he was at that level. So I think it's a good thing for Rangers B as a whole, but there is a worry for me that players who are on the fringes of the first team are ready to kind of get into the first team. What are we doing with them? Because I don't want to see them wasting themselves away in the Lowland League. It's they're too, some of them are too good for that. And Zach Lovelace, for me, appears to be the next one who I don't want to see him waste his time away. I'd rather we put him out on loan to a kind of lower, a Scottish team or English team, and try and get him first team football at a better level than the Lowland League, mate.
Yeah, I can see the argument in that, mate. But maybe that's again something the club should be looking into as well, because it's clear that Lowry's far too good for that level. He canters it, and he got a bad injury because he's far too good for it, because somebody just basically rage quit, did a Scotia, and just absolutely wiped him out. So
I've never injured someone with marriage quits.
That's true, mate. That's very true.
You tried to injure me in the pub on Saturday night. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But I can see the argument in that, mate, that the club should be more proactive about getting the players that are too good for the Lowland League, maybe not good enough for us in the first team, but get them out to a team in England or something like that to get them on time. I think there's definitely an argument in that. So that'll do us for tonight, gentlemen. Scotia, thank you very much for joining me tonight, mate, and for rushing home from work so we could do a podcast. I appreciate it, man.
Cheers, it's been a pleasure. Away off now to watch the rest of the Napoli-Milano game.
Oh, I'm not. I'm not. Ryan, thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, mate. I think this works well with three. I think this is the three best podcasters on tonight. Don't think we need Pearson, so it's up to yourself if you want to put him up for transfer and make some money, and we'll buy Broom Hill because I heard they're up for sale.
They're also up for sale, yeah. They're also up for sale. So, yeah, that'll do. As I say, as always, please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. That'd be very much appreciated. We will be back on Friday with Club Live. I think Ali's hosting. That will be Ali, won't it? It's his turn. I think these were the last 2 weeks. So Ali will be hosting on Friday. So until then, enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the pleasant weather that we seem to be having just now in central and west Scotland. I think, is it all Scotland nice just now? I don't know how, honestly.
All of Scotland's pretty nice.
Yeah, tell me you're from Glasgow without telling me you're from Glasgow. Yeah, that's what that was right there. So yes, we'll speak to you on Friday. We are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast, and enjoy our new music, everybody. Cheers, everyone.